This
Laura.
conference will now be recorded.
Thank you, Laura, and welcome everyone to a poetry happening, Mercer Poets Read, our second year in a row of bringing everyone together to celebrate the culmination of National Poetry Month. So we've got a great lineup tonight, so let's get started. Our first poet will be Janet Rush, and let me read you her bio. Currently a retired wife, mother, and homemaker as an accountant for the Johnson Atelier for many years, working among the numerous artists that created the sculptures that surround us today, she tapped into her artistic vein as a wordsmith. Although she has had other work published, the poem she'll be reading tonight has special meaning as it was one of the first she wrote and was widely appreciated by people other than family. She adds, they are not the best critic as they are a bit biased. The poem was created after meeting Eleanor Otto at the Johnson Atelier, who was one of the original Rosie the Riveters. She came to the atelier to be photographed with Seward Johnson, sculpture Embrace Peace, formerly known as Unconditional Surrender. The monumental piece he created of the sailor kissing the nurse, for which she was the model. The history of women working during World War II was so moving, as was she, that Nancy, felt compelled to write this poem in her and their honor. She emailed a copy to her since Eleanor and women like her made history and paved the way for all working women today. Although she had an incredibly busy schedule at the time, she had just been the Grand Marshal of the Rosie Parade in California, among many other things. She took the time to email Janet a thank you note telling her how much she enjoyed the poem, and we hope you do too. Janet, take it away.
Thank you, Chip, and thank you for taking the time to put this together for all of us poets. And hello, everybody. This is the poem that I wrote. Just saying. Can do was the motto back in the day when men were in countries far, far away, fighting a war against enemies known, leaving their families here all alone. But the women did not shy away, falter and cry. They made carbines and bombs instead of meatloaf and pie. Rosie the Riveter became an icon for girls who wanted more than ribbons and cute little curls, sacrificing much to work in factories making arms for the men earning freedom for all those who had none. With the French, Chinese, the Poles and the Brits, the Austrians and Russians, and the Spaniards and Swiss, Americans dropped bombs made by delicate hands right here in the U.S. in our domestic plants. By patriots, all women who helped win a war, but once it was over, were then shown the door. A blow to morale, surely it was, but these women said, no, there's no stopping us. We did it while the men were off fighting wars. Now you want us back doing housework and chores. Little did they know that by standing their ground, that by keeping their jobs, immense pride would be found. They were role models for young girls and women alike. Their determination showed all of us you can soar to great heights. Just keep all your dreams and your goals fast in mind, and like Riveter Rosie, success you will find.
Yay! Thank you so much, Janet. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Um, all right. You're getting a lot of claps in the emoji section.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm glad everybody enjoyed it. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right, our second poet for this evening is Nancy Cathers Demme, and she is the author of the novel The Ride, which was published in 2019, and has had her poetry and short stories published in Confrontation, Los Galsberg's Weekend Excerpts, the Kelsey Review, US One, the Foliot Oak Literary Magazine, Willard and Maple, Patterson Literary Review, and US One Worksheets. She was nominated for the Pushcart Prize by the Kelsey Review. She has recently been published in the Poems from the Circle of Seven, an anthology of 7 poets. She has been facilitator of the Twin Rivers Writers Group for over 30 years and teaches writing in English for ESL students and is an active member of the Garden State Storytellers League. Nancy, I'll throw it over to you.
Okay. Hi, I'm not going to preface this with anything. It's called Mr. Blessing. Mr. Blessing, he entered as we did, single file, the forward motion shivering the white plastic skeleton hanging in the corner, next to the poster of a staring diagrammed eyeball. The room dimmed by low hovering clouds as he hung his herringbone jacket on the clothes tree behind his desk. A Clark Kent, Superman's alter ego, horn-rimmed glasses, black tie, dusty flat-foot shoes. He placed his armful of papers on the desk, scatterbrained, a messy pile. I sit in the second seat from the front near the door, the smell of floor cleaner and the grazing field of cows outside for daydreamers. What is biology? Anyone? The room is loud with silence. He calls roll. Larry Toomer? Here. Sally Van Zandt? Here. Josh Mackenzie? Josh? Here. When he calls my name, he stops and looks up. Scott's sister? Yes. Here. I'm here. What is biology? I raise my hand. Is it like how I know I'm near my grandmother's house by the way the air smells? He walks over to my desk, motions me to follow him to the back of the room. I'm trying to remember what I did wrong. On the counter are a series of microscopes. He removes some slides from a tray, inserts one, and whispers, "Watch." He does this quickly. I notice his wrinkled fingers. The classroom becomes a distant beehive. His eye looks into the scope. He steps back and motions me to look. Onion cells. Go on. Look. It is a miracle. A wall of little bricks, dots in the center. He leaves me there. He nods, goes back to class and calls the last few names. I fiddle with knobs and back again, place the other slides back into the tray. Here. Tomorrow we will all experiment with the microscopes. June will bring some pond water and we will all take a look. He says it as if he knows I've waded in the pond behind my house, even though it is riddled with snapping turtles. Like the time driving with my family on Mercer Street, seeing Einstein with his unruly white hair and sneakers. I look around the room, but I don't see a telephone booth where Mr. Blessing can change.
Thank you, Nancy.
You're welcome.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
All right. This is a great group. The hands clapping, the hearts. Uh, Wonderful. So our next poet is K.G. Monroe, and I do not have a bio, but K.G. Monroe, if you are in the house, now is your time. And thus, that time has passed. If we can get KG on a little bit later, hopefully we will. We have a very special guest with us next, Cy Friedman. And well, I'm going to read his bio right now, which is magnificent. He is a first generation American and was born in Irvington, New Jersey, and raised in Newark. He attended Newark Public Schools and then went on to study at the University of Cincinnati, where he graduated in 1956 with a Bachelor of Science in Architecture. After working for several years as an architect, Cy changed gears and focused on business, running an office maintenance company in New York City for over 30 years. Upon his retirement in 1992, Cy spent a lot of time traveling with his wife Dorothy, which was a favorite pastime for both. Now they love to spend time with their family when possible, which includes their 2 children and 6 grandchildren. And in his spare time, Cy is an avid bridge player and sculptor. Tsai's talent as a poet was ignited when the Russians invaded Ukraine. His first poem, Message to Mariupol, manifests his concern and care for others. The onslaught of gun violence inspired his next poem, Guns, and then he went on to write about many other topics near and dear to him. He will celebrate his 96th birthday in 8 weeks. Wonderful. Sai, take it away. Let's make sure we have audio on you. It looks like it.
Thank you, Chief.
Yes.
I'll start off with guns. Can we allow ourselves to forget the tragic loss Uvalde met? The innocent shoppers in Buffalo who also suffered this terrible blow. Are guns to be our only answer, or can we cure this kind of cancer? Because the powers filled with greed want to sell more guns to fill their need, an agenda like that exploits the community and allowed to function with impunity. Sorry. We live in fear with violence, responding mostly with our silence. This silent majority has to be heard. To continue like this is absurd. The horror and mayhem of Sandy Hook with all those children's lives they took. It doesn't mean we have to deny the legitimate right to buy, but it also time to realize smarter laws would be wise. The Charlotte Church, Emmanuel, got a share of this kind of hell. We must find a way to govern our guns, to stop the killing of our daughters and sons, the murders of our fathers and mothers, including so many sisters and brothers, the terrible loss of husbands and wives, destroying all those promising lives. What do we do with such human behavior? Is it enough to rely on a savior? Pittsburgh's synagogue, Tree of Life, they also had to endure the strife. We must step from the being assailed. We must stop from being assailed without our freedom being curtailed. In fact, freedom can be enhanced when sensible laws are advanced. Freedom to live without fear, even enjoying all that we hold dear. It's not enough for us to say, I am so sorry, now let us pray. We all remember Columbine and can recall that terrible time. We have to face the reality, operate for blind justice to see the urgent need for a solution to end this wanton execution. To have a gun for sport or defense of house and home may still make sense, but law must be made with serious thought so that assault weapons can't be bought. In Orlando, in Orlando, Pulse nightclub venue was subjected to slaughter too. Let us take this task in hand, get our heads out of sand. There comes a time to face the crisis. We have to come up with better devices. Hate has no place in good people's hearts. It's time that a renaissance starts. Hope we are able to live safely in freedom, make the laws work as we all need them. Hospitals, shops, streets of the city, there's no safe for anyone. What a pity. So don't buy the lie that it's all political. The culprits don't care for anything critical. Embrace understanding, tolerance, and caring. Hope to live life without despairing. We must truly try to find a way so that one day we can say, we owe this to those unfortunate ones who fell victim to uncontrolled guns. The second poem I've written was in tribute to the heroes of Mariupol in Ukraine. Message for Mariupol. I cry for the innocents with grief. I cry for the stolen lives with death the thief. No more to smile, no more to laugh. I cry, I mourn on their behalf. Poor defenseless souls were they, when a hellish horror came their way. Without any kind of provocation, those dirty deeds destroyed a nation. I cry for those souls who did no wrong, but suffered slaughter with spirit strong. Innocence torn from humanity can only be senseless insanity. I cry for lost souls, I mourn, for such oppressors nothing but scorn. Cry for the world's wonderful potential of love, honor, respect, all essential. Keep up with your valiant fight, knowing that your cause is right. With resolve, you will not fail. With steadfast purpose, you can prevail. What a beautiful world this would be if we did not suffer such tragedy, if mankind were kinder to all mankind, and with head and heart peace defined. This is a sonnet to compression stockings, something in a lighter vein. When I was young, I'd be mocking wearing of compression stockings. You pull and stretch and yank so hard, squeezing, wrenching without regard. But when you get older with legs that swell, aches and pains in your feet as well, you become eternally grateful. To have and hold can be fateful. Compression stockings, a garment of choice, helping the rest of your body rejoice. Just to remember what a treasure it is to walk round with pleasure and to see all the old folks flocking to put on their compression stockings. And that's my contribution for Poetry Week this year. I thank you all for the attention you've given.
Thank you so much, Sai. You're getting all kinds, you're getting many hearts, applause, thumbs up, and an early happy birthday as well.
Thank you
So
all. You all.
thank you again.
Thank
Um, all right. Our next reader is Karen Feldenzer. Karen, are you with us? We'll come back to Karen if we can. Now, Wilder Bellamy, I know is here, but is maybe having audio issues. Wilder, just to check, are you still having audio issues? I'm going to guess yes, so we'll come back to you. Um, let's see. I have Wilder's bio here, so um, all right. Barry Carter, you're up. Barry, don't let me down. Poor Barry. Where is he? We don't know. All right. Now we'll go to another uh, poignant part of the evening. Um, this is written by one of our fellow poets who passed away about 6 months ago of complications of Parkinson's, named John Wells. And his wife, his widow, Corinne, asked me to read this tonight. And I am honored to. This was a poem he wrote in 1998, soon after moving uh, to Hopewell. All right. It's called The Woosa Monster. In the wild lands at the western end of Woosa Monster Road, there lived the Woosa Monster in his underground abode. It was a dreadful little cavern, always cold and dark and damp, and no matter how he slept, he always woke up with a cramp. But now and then he'd leave his den to seek a takeout meal, to satisfy his craving for the taste of charbroiled steel. He'd crawl out of his darkened cave, stretch out his bat-like wings, and head down to the road in search of automotive things. The Woosa monster wound his way down Woosa Road. He bared his teeth like blades of steel that glittered when they showed. He spouted flames that turned both lanes to sheets of molten tar, and casually barbecued a hapless passing car. The tempting toasting auto became a once and tasty snack, a luscious Subaru fondue, a dripping gooey black. Then on the beast flew, heading east into the rising sun, anticipating breakfast out on Highway 31. In the distance he could see them run, divine delicacies, herds of harried Honda, plump and scrumptious SUVs. He ducked down low, proceeding slow, a stealthy operator, and plucked a favorite from the flow, a Lincoln Navigator. But as he tucked into his meal, he heard a fearsome roar as 7 semis rumbled by, then half a dozen more. He stared in dumb appraisal. He could scarce believe his eyes. The biggest of these predators nearly equaled him in size. "Gadzooks!" he shrieked, his anger peaked. "They're scaring off the prey. I'll make them sorry they chased my quarry. Oh, yes, they'll rue the day." He rose up to full height, 100 feet above the ground, and unleashed a mighty howl that curdled milk for miles around. He spied an 18-wheeler running down a used Chevelle. He knocked the tractor flat and laid the trailer low as well. The flattened rig was roasted and was eaten piping hot. With a little cargo on the side, it really hit the spot. And in that very moment, the Woosa monster did decide that a diet rich in trucks would keep him more than satisfied. No longer must he spend his time on minivans and Oldsmobiles when one well-laden hauler was a happy meal on wheels. And so the Woosa monster made his way back to his homely den, where he slept in snug contentment until he hungered once again. And from then on, when he awoke, he filled the air with song and laughter. For with so many chucks, pardon me, for with so many trucks from which to choose, he lived quite happily ever after. All right, John Wells, gone but not forgotten. Um, I love that. Very Seussian, a lot of fun. All right, Mark Chardine is
Good
a New
evening.
Jersey resident with a lifelong love of poetry and the pleasures it offers us. He sees each of us as an heir to the remarkably beautiful tradition of poetry, which guides us as we seek to create new works. Mark, take it
Good
away.
evening. Good evening, Chip. Thank you. I just wish to say great word of appreciation to the Mercer County Library System. Um, I'm frequently at one of the Mercer County libraries, and I certainly appreciate your putting this event together. And also, you can find this book and 2 others of mine in the Mercer County Library System, so you can go to the card catalog and place hold on them. And well, people are always interested in drinking coffee. People are interested in Paris. And so this poem's called Starbucks. Paris it is not. No ornate surroundings, no well-dressed waiters. Wait your turn in line. No leisurely service here. Maybe you can sit. No cups or saucers. Sip from paper or plastic. Do find the trash can. As for the coffee, true, they know how to brew. The machines work well. All throughout the land, each place looks like the others. Standards are upheld. Yes, they sell good stuff. I do like stopping in, but Paris, it is not.
So true, so true. Thank you, Mark. Getting thumbs up, claps, And I absolutely encourage you to check Mark's books out of the library. Marvelous. Um, all right, Anna, your turn. Stepping up to the mic. Magnificent. Would you like to introduce yourself, the poem, and the poet? I can't hear you.
How's that? Better?
That's magical. That is
Okay.
magical.
I was telling Chip that I am not a poet, but I am taking my fear of poetry and I am head on facing it head on. And I'm just so happy to be a part of the program this evening. And I'm so moved by everybody's contributions thus far. So I'm not going to read my biography. I'm going to read the poet's biography. This is a poem that I heard over a podcast, and it moved me. And I realized that's what poetry is about, whether it's moving you to tears or laughter or just deep thoughts. It's something that takes hold of you. And so I picked a poem by Atel Adnan. She was a poet, short story writer, essayist, and artist. She was born in Beirut in 1925 to a Syrian Muslim father and a Greek Christian mother. She grew up among the landscapes of Lebanon and Syria before moving to France for a time and then to America. She was a leading voice of contemporary Arab American culture, a multilingualist who had a nomadic existence. Adnan made work that traverses cultures and disciplines, drawing its inspiration from a deep engagement with the world. And so I am very excited to share with you. This is from her poem, From Shifting the Silence. And again, this is Atel Adnan. The trees are yellowing, giving the air a metallic tone, shaking the imagination out of its lethargy. The outside world brings much more to me than what we call the inner one. Yes, there's all the horror we know, but Cache Creek in Yolo County, the Upper Hudson, the Nile under the Faroe Hues, Mount Shasta under the rain, and the mountain, the one which is mine. Take me into their own identities. They silence the world. I want to go rafting, not only on rivers, but on any experience. The mental ones, particularly, feel the joy of frantic concepts, of their freedom mainly. It's tiring to analyze, cut thinking into bits, scrutinize happenings. So much labor for mediocre results. Let's jump and dive. Go with winds. Let's get wet and even get hurt. Let's give the Yellowstone River the chance to toss us the way it does tree trunks and salmon. Let's use its ways on our dormant brains. Where do painters stand in all this? Usually nowhere. They seldom say or write something as revelatory as their works can be, structurally non-translatable. I miss listening to jazz music or to Schubert, and if I had the chance, would rather watch a tiger run for real than read my most beloved poets. But poets are poets. Nothing will dislodge them, even when in their most pathetic moments, they're badly needed.
Thank you, Anna. That was great. And you mentioned some of the areas of my uh, old home area, Shasta, Mount Shasta in Yolo County, very close to where I used to live in California. Um, so thank you for that. All right. Um, Next up, we have Isha Virabotla, and their bio they sent me is as follows. Um, They're both a very tired high school student and a poet whose work is usually only seen by their notes app and maybe a few friends. They enjoy listening to music, crocheting, and occasionally reading in their free time. This is their second time reading their poetry out loud in an event. The first time being last Friday for an audience mostly composed of indifferent freshmen. Well, no one is indifferent here tonight, and we are very much looking forward to hearing the poem. please take it away.
Yeah, thanks. So, my poem is called Maybe I'm Just 16, and it's kind of about like what being a teenager feels like. Um, okay, so maybe I'm just 16, but I think teenagers are like angels. Not the pretty kinds, the messed up ones with too many pairs of eyes and misplaced limbs and crooked wings. They said we would be beautiful. Beautiful like pale-skinned, slim, soft-feathered, doe-eyed servants of a false god. We are beautiful. Beautiful like broken bones, bloody mouths, all-seeing, screaming. Believing in justice is for children, and dishing it out as a game for the old and nearly dead, so we became both. They forgot they were fighting for heaven on earth, so we burned it all down, standing, with our eyes open, while they prayed and breathed in the smoke, kneeling, eyes closed. We are the dumbest beings alive, who know more than anyone. The wisdom is saved for a world of pixels and empty praise, chat bubbles and desperate hopes. The wise insist emotion is a fallacy, that we are too young for complex pain and too old for simple joy. So we eat our own hearts for breakfast and drink our own sins as medicine. Because we felt a lack of feeling before and know it's no virtue. It's the worst kind of flaw. We are alive only through a daily dose of internet and anxiety meds, but it's better than looking around and saying there's nothing we can do, because suddenly we look around and our bodies are property. Suddenly we look around and our voices are owned by no one. We are charged with the murder of the children we once were, but we showed up to court with headphones and pajamas on, yawned at the prosecutors, stared each member of the jury in the eye. We don't have an answer to this one. There is no pleading, only a gavel that announces in the silence that follows it, guilty. There is no way to write this and have the story be ours. There is no way to avoid the ridicule of being marched to jail for the crime of becoming people. It's happened before, every generation a new prison built to cage the rage of teenage hunger, to be laughed at later, buried somewhere soundproof. But does that mean it must go on? Maybe I'm just 16, but I think we're onto something. Maybe I'm just 16, but hope is still lodged like toffee in my teeth. Maybe I'm just 16, but I think teenagers are like angels. Do not fear us. This time we will end the war.
That was wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
You're getting all sorts of wonderful comments and hearts and hands and applause. Wonderful. All right. Next, we have Danielle Guaracino, and I will read her bio. Danielle is a professor of chemistry at the College of New Jersey, a flute player, and a mom of a very energetic 4-year-old daughter who provides endless poetic inspiration. In Danielle's time apart from teaching and performing peptide research with undergraduates, she enjoys reading, writing for fun, as well as in her editorial board role for the magazine ASBMB Today, which is the American Society of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, playing music, being outdoors, and spending time with the family. Take it away, Danielle.
All right. Hello, everyone. So I'll just preface my poem with the fact that I wrote it very recently when I had COVID and my 4-year-old had COVID, and we were just a mess. So that's where this comes from. All right. Eyes burning with the fiery tempest, my breath comes quickly, drowning in heat. I hold you to me, radiating, your flames engulf mine. We fall, we shatter. I see the light. In the late afternoon, in the quiet stillness of a time oft remembered, we are broken, we will mend. The yellow buds peeking out, unfurling to the first rays of sunshine, light upon the darkness, your smile and mine, relief. We reach for each other and hand in hand, take to the future.
Wonderful. Thank you. It's lovely. Hearts, hands, everything there. Wonderful. So I think that we're still having audio issues with Wilder, and I believe he has emailed me his poems. So let me take a look, and I would like to read them. Wilder, I apologize for the audio problems. I'm not sure what they are, and let me get to the poems. which I don't seem to have here. Wilder, would you like to send them again? Hmm. Let me look. Let me look because I would really like to read this. And something similar happened to Wilder last year. So give me one sec. In theater, this is what we used to call dead space, but it's not because we're all here together. Well, it looks like I don't have them readily available, unfortunately. Um, Now, I know there may be other folks who would like to read. Is there anyone else? Leonora, were you going to read tonight? I'm not sure. I can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So, so I live in Ewing Township. I'm also a fine artist, and I've exhibited my paintings locally. Most recently at Highland Farm, which is the home of Oscar Hammerstein II. I've published some poems and short stories in the Kelsey Review. So this poem that I have for you, it's known as Timberline, which I wrote just a couple of months ago. Timberline. Familiarity breeds contempt, but I honor your contempt. That part of you that is so human, I'm still wonderstruck that you allow me to see you so raw. Hoary, waxy, onion afterkiss. Just as I'd miss wholeheartedly your snoring, wheezing, pulsed out palpitations. Your gross annoyance over my chickadee cackle, my guffawing inner child who hoards rare stuffed toys stranger than an echidna sanctuary. You disappear and don't say anything for weeks. And while I used to abhor this, I admit that I cut and paste these parts of you onto a collage of decoupage trees. Those ancient oaks, maples, tulip poplars, American beech, that timberline in Cadwallader Park that we call base. You touch base and time out. When you're too pissed to call me and just want to demolish something, you go there and hurl a random acorn or pine cone towards the river down my back, which is that which is that long of Melusina that marks my waterlogged ancestry. My moodiness that is a strange symptom of a long line of women who are soothed only by walking on drenched sand, even as we yearn for the depths of the ocean, not to swim, but to just sit at the bottom and hear unfolding the origami moon hung on its hook through an unseen hand. And that's what I want from you, but I don't know how to ask. And so I stretch out all my fingers and feel your heat. That place where your palm pressed, all the trees blistered by your applause. Hands about to clap look like hands about to pray. You don't like to go to church with me because you're still finding God and happening upon driftwood for a coastal cathedral. And my old soul encroaching understands those times I asked God for something so urgently and he kept quiet and I thought he abandoned me and didn't care. I like to think that it's sort of like you when you disappear. You don't want me to see you crying. You dive so deep into my shadow and hold me from a place beyond where arms can't reach. You take on my pain and frailty and make as big of a space for it to sink into. A place with all questions, the answers hovering, that line or altitude above which no trees grow. Meet me there.
Thank you, Leonora. That was
Thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you.
Hearts, hands, wonderful. All right. Now, Wilder, I see you again. Do you have audio? I'm not sure. I do not believe Wilder has audio. Let me check one more time to see if I have access to your poems. Ah, was that Wilder? If I can't, I'm sorry, I can't hear you. Maybe if I, I was gonna say, maybe if I read them, you can lip sync. Hold on. Because I would really like to have these read. Ah, here we go. Okay. All right. Now I want to introduce Wilder first, who you can see, but unfortunately not here. But he published a wonderful science fiction novel called Wolf 3.0, which is about a pack of telepathic wolves in the future, which is showcased on the website Wattpad. Uh, and a version of this poem is at the end of under a note from the author. Wilder, coincidentally, is related to the author Edward Bellamy, one of the early science fiction authors who wrote Looking Backward. So let me get to his poem. All right, here we go. H.G. Wells' The Time Machine, a response by Wilder Bellamy. Cry havoc and let loose the dogs of war, from Mark Antony's speech in Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. When I was reading The Time Machine in the process of reaching, pardon me, let me start again. When I was reading The Time Machine in the process of researching another sci-fi author of his time, just preceding, something sprang up and slammed into my head like an angry earworm, and I slipped into an obsessive vision, brain filling up with the sack of Rome, crystal knock, 1621. I'm wired that way. I can't help it. And this vision is pulling me into the future. Everything is crazy. The AIs watch and laugh and laugh. The singularity is soon to take over, and the death of work is being accomplished. And in my mind, at last, H.G. Wells speaks softly to the apocalyptic scene before him with his eyebrows up. Needs work. And there is a note from Wilder to the listener and the reader. Write this down and check it in Wikipedia. He suggests technical singularity. And he notes it will chill your bones. And I believe he is correct. The technical singularity will chill your bones. All right. Would anyone else like to read a poem? All right. Well, I want to thank you all for being here. I want to thank you all for celebrating the great tradition of New Jersey poetry and for being part of the great tradition of New Jersey poetry. And Cy says he's got one more. Cy, we're ready. Let's make sure we've got sound on Cy here. Hold on one sec. I'm sending you an unmute request because I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Dorothy Friedman, and I am the wife to Seymour Friedman. So it's got into the uh, poetry time. Uh, this one is called The Time Is Now. In America, laws were passed separating church and state, something we honored to this date. The time is now for women to show their discontent. 4 black-robed male justices voted, showing a religious bent. Today, employers use religion in their fight to prevent women from getting their health care right. Roe versus Wade, I'm sorry, Roe versus Wade, it's a law that is just, giving women medical providers they can trust. The time is now for women to be paid salaries that are fair when doing a job that shows talent and care. In the 21st century, it is true, women work two jobs, caring for home and children too. The way of life has taken its toll. Stand up and be counted as you go to the poll. The time is now for a special event. The time is now for a woman president.
Very good.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
I have another one.
Beautiful and oh so true. Yes, another one would be wonderful.
Wake up, America, by the dawn's early light. It's time to stop the congressional fight. We went to the polls and selected the candidates won. We hope the good stuff promised will be done. Work on what the nation and people need, not more of the congressional greed. It's jobs, health care, and education. That's what will strengthen our nation. A clean environment, good roads, fair tax laws too, will be a job well done. The reducing poverty and homelessness with less access to the threatening gun. Wake up, America. Freedom is what we fought for, died for, and desire a productive life to enjoy and then retire. Wake up, America. The time is right. Let's get Congress working by the dawn's early light.
So true. So true. Applause, thumbs up, hearts. Fantastic. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And everyone, thank you again, for keeping the wonderful tradition of poetry we have here in New Jersey alive and well, especially here in Mercer County. I hope everyone has had a wonderful night. I thank all the poets for reading, and I thank you all for coming this evening. Have a wonderful rest of National Poetry Month and keep celebrating your work and the work of others.
Thank
All
you
right.
very much. Thank you
Take
very much.
care. Absolutely. And everyone have a wonderful night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you, Chip.